helped Zen Master Soeng Hyang write her book, Composting Your Karma. And hopefully she can tell you more about herself when she begins to speak. And answering questions today is Terry Cronin, JDPSN, and he's up leading the kill chair right now. And he come down here to do this, answer questions. So he started practicing Zen and Christian contemplation in 1980 while a student at the Yale Divinity School. And since 1986, he's trained in the Quantum School of Zen. He received inka from Zen Master Soeng Hyang in April of 2014, and is a guiding teacher of the Northern Light Zen Center in Topsham, Maine. And for over 20 years, he has worked in a variety of roles for hospice programs, currently serving as a hospice chaplain. He lives in Maine and has one adult son. And so, yes, he'll answer questions, and please ask some questions so we could have an interesting talk. Thank you.
A book with truth that arose in me. I want to help Bobby write a book. It was just there. It just arose. So I went to Bobby afterwards. I still was shy, and this was even after years later where I knew her quite a bit better. We became friends, and so I said, well, after that Kilche, I still was shy. I said, Bobby, is there anything you need help with? I want to help you with something. And she said, oh, there's this book. A lot of people said I should write a book, and I don't know, do I really want to write a book? I mean, do I have anything new to say that hasn't been said already? And I mean, you could try helping me write this book if you wanted. Other people have tried and it hasn't worked out, so don't worry if it doesn't work out, we'll still be good. And I could just see in her what I usually see in myself. A lot of, it seemed like insecurities about what she had to offer. And so I immediately thought, oh my God, I can help with this. I can help her with this. I can do this. And I wasn't attached to it wasn't a sense of my worth. It wasn't about, was I good enough? Was I right? Was my action righteous in some way? It just was, oh, I can do this. I wasn't even exactly sure what this was, but because we didn't really have an idea for the book. And even after that, it was it took a long time for us to find our way to the book that is available now, that came out through Shambhala Publications at the end of December. We even had an offer for a different book, and we started on that book, and I actually advised Bobby against it. And it was interesting. There were other teachers in the school who thought maybe it was a good idea. Maybe Bobby should work on that book. But I had for whatever reason, my sense was that it wouldn't be right for Bobby. And so we continued on our process. And it took a lot of time. I gathered a bunch of her Dharma talks going all the way back to the 70s. And, some of them were written, some of them had excerpts published in Primary Point, some of them were audio, some of them were available by computer, some were just in paper form and in archives that one of the teachers in the school pointed me to along the way. And I sat with all of those teachings, wondering, who am I? What is this? And, with my insecurities about, do I have something to offer, as a Zen practitioner? Is there something that, some reason that would be useful for me to be a teacher? I've been sitting with that question and feeling a lot of insecurities. But sitting with the teachings and figuring out how to develop them into a book, I didn't know. There were many steps along the way where I wasn't quite sure which way to go or what would make sense, or when we needed input from other people. And eventually, I don't know, I had more confidence in myself when it came to that. And so we found our way and developed some themes about Bobby's favorite teaching points that seemed to easily arise from the material. One of the things that I find so helpful for Bobby as a teacher is her never-ending enthusiasm, her belief that I can do it, that you can do it, that we all can do it. that we all have it. And even when I felt like I was doing it wrong or not doing it well enough, or, um, she didn't jump on that bandwagon. She just sat calmly and, waited for the truth to arise naturally on its own. And that's what we're taught, that our practice, our fundamental Zen practice, that's what it's about. What is this? What is this?
What are you doing?
Someone needs to mute who's online. So we found our way. We found our way to this book, and why? Why write a book? Why does the world need a book? Why does Bobby need to put a book out? Does the world need another book? Well, recently I was reading a biography about the Buddha, and I'm not much of a Buddhist scholar, but I know enough about Buddhism to know that writing a biography of the Buddha is a shaky ground. We don't have a lot of firsthand accounts of what the Buddha said. We don't know how much it's metaphor or real. But one thing that struck me when I was reading about those first days, like when the Buddha sat under that tree and waited for truth to rise by itself, after he realized that, starving himself wasn't the way to do it, that there needed to be more compassion, more friendliness towards yourself, in order for the right conditions to arise. He came up and he wanted to share it with people. He wanted to share this understanding with other people. And so he developed sanghas because he realized that not everyone was going to sit there and wait for truth to arise by itself, that that moment of light, that moment of enlightenment, that the flame that was kindled in that moment needed to be supported, and in order to move forward, in order for him to be able to share it with people, he needed to share it with people who could themselves sit with the truth and then pass on that information. And so this seems like an incredible point. This seems like such an incredible time to be sitting with the truth of something. When every day we're, because of this technology that's helping me talk with you today, we're confronted with the question is this real? Is this information? Is what I'm seeing real? Is there a truth here? And how do you know? How do we know? How do we sit deeply with that question of what is the truth here? It's so easy to become self-righteous. And I consider actually my questioning my own self-worth a form of self-righteousness, in the sense that I'm trying to decide, am I worthy? Am I not worthy? Am I right? Am I not right? Is the way I'm thinking good? Is it bad? And there's so much self-righteousness. I was in Waitsfield yesterday. Some of you might know that JD Vance was trying to take his family skiing in Waitsfield, and I went to Waitsfield to visit a dying friend. And so I saw I went. There were reasons I wanted to go, and support the efforts, to question, to make a stand for truth, of that truth matters. And that felt really important to me in the face of all of this. And what I saw was a lot of signs about people being idiots and scum. And I saw a lot of signs, but, like I noticed there was a quote in the news about the protesters who were protesting J.D. Vance being there. And the one quote about it was, "They're all effing morons." And I saw a lot of that kind of sentiment at the protest for about J.D. Vance being there too. And how do we sit with what so much seems to be off the right track, and not just become self-righteous? Because as soon as we become self-righteous, that, that's the next step, is holding up that sign that says, "You're an effing moron." Everybody already has it. We all have it. We all have truth. What is it? How do we support each other to find it? How do we hold that flame in this crazy world so that we can pass it on to others and share it with others? I'll stop there. It's nice to be with you all here today. Thank you.
If there are questions specific to what Elizabeth has said that really only she could answer, then she can respond. But if there are other questions, then I'll respond to those.
First of all, Elizabeth, thank you for sharing your story. I have a continuing theme that I think the past few times I've been up here, I ask about, and that is ego. So it's a great question. What is truth, right? Is it a construct of our ego? Because what I may feel is truthful, someone else may not. But where does it lie? The answer.
And I have some hearing loss, so could you say more loudly the core of what you were asking?
Yeah, I guess the core of what I'm asking is truth just a construct of ego? My truth may be different than your truth. So where does that all kind of come together?
Yeah. So in our practice style, our core teaching is to return to, before all thinking, to this point where at that moment, that sound, that motion, those vibrations, just that, then your mind, my mind, if there's a little mouse hiding in the corner, it's mine. We're sharing an experience. Right? When we return to before all thinking, then our minds are same mind. Right? And then as we get caught up in our thinking, then the what seem to be differences appear. Yeah. So this truth, we can speak of that as truth. But then the next step is necessary. How do we make that truth function in the moment, specific to the moment that we're in? All there is this moment. The future is an idea that we carry and form of the future. The past is our memory of what was past. But that's happening in this moment. All there is this moment. And so our job is to wake up and help, to perceive clearly this moment that we're in. To see clearly, hear clearly, smell clearly, taste clearly, touch clearly, think clearly. Perceive clearly the moment that we're in and respond. Perceive the moment and respond to that in a way that may help. And all we can do is try. Ahead of time, we don't have some guaranteed way of knowing, oh, do this, it for sure will help. We just try, do the best we can, perceive the moment, and then respond in a way that may help. And then let go of that and perceive this moment. If we're awake, we'll be witnessing, experiencing what happened after I did whatever it was that I tried. How did it help? How did it not help? This new moment will teach me so much about all of that. I perceive that clearly and respond in a way as best I can to help. And let go of that and do it all over again. Moment by moment by moment by moment for a lifetime. Or countless lifetimes, depending on your belief system. But that process of perceive clearly and act well, that's our life. That's our practice. And practice in the narrow sense of the word, the skillful means that have evolved over thousands of years for human beings, things like sitting meditation, chanting meditation, bowing meditation, so many skillful means that have developed to help us hone our ability to perceive clearly. Usually, our minds are so busy with thinking that we're carrying over from previous moments. Whatever we were doing in the previous moments, we're still thinking all about that, feeling all about that, ruminating about that as we engage in this moment. And that gets in our way of being able to just perceive clearly this moment. And so these skillful means have developed to help us hone the ability to let go of everything that came before this moment. And to perceive clearly. So our practice in the narrow sense of the word are skillful means to help us hone the ability to make every moment of our life our practice. Getting good sitting on a cushion is kind of a waste of life if that doesn't map over to the rest of the time that you're not sitting on a cushion. And it's in that way of, that honing the ability to perceive clearly, to be able to be aware of when my body is doing whatever it's doing in the moment it's in, but I'm on autopilot. My body's doing what it's doing. Here we're sitting still. Right at the moment I'm talking too much, you're listening. We'll do some back and forth talking and listening. That's a lot of what this moment is, right? And I lost my train of thought. I've lost my train of thought. I'll stop there. Other questions?
Yeah, I just had a question. I'm not sure if you're familiar with these trips, because I was reading on the website that y'all have Christian Buddhism trips. And the core of my question is basically, I feel like we live in a world where people want to force their beliefs on other people. How do, even if you have experience with the Christian Buddhism trips, how does that work with conflicting beliefs? And the core of my question will basically be how in a world where people are eager to force, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right, how can we live in peace with basically people like that?
Yeah. So in our tradition, in this school, we have some Buddhist Christian retreats that we hold a few times per year. And the focus of that is we're practicing together, sharing our spiritual practices. There's not much talking about the theologies or the philosophies. It's a matter of just do it. And the practices in those two traditions are remarkably similar. Meditation practice, the way that we practice it in Kwan Zen, very, very similar to the way, say, centering prayer is practiced by some Christians. And so it's trying to respect the common practices and sense that, if we engage in this together, what do we perceive? If a family member wakes up sick in the middle of the night and you respond to that, is that response a Christian response, a Buddhist response? Is it put all of that down, you just responding to the moment as it arises? How do I bring compassion appropriate to the moment as it unfolds?
My question is about mantra practice. I get it that when I'm saying a mantra, any kind of mantra, I'm not thinking, I'm focused on that. But how does that help me in everyday life? Because I'm not going to walk around the street talking to myself. How does a mantra help me?
Yeah. So one way mantra helps, like any of our practices really, they're a way that we can bring our attention back to something such that the first question, what is my body doing right now? Oh, it's sitting reciting a mantra. When I become aware that I'm sitting there, and maybe I'm still reciting the mantra, but I'm lost in my imagination of the future, or my memory of the past, or discursive thinking about who knows what. When I become aware of that, I bring my attention back and simply resume doing the mantra. In that way, it's same process, whether I'm counting breaths, if my practice is counting breaths, or doing a mantra, or clear mind, don't know. You know, there's countless practices that people use in meditation, but they're coming back. Their practice is what they come back to when they become aware that they are not just doing their practice. When they become aware, they're lost in thinking about the future, remembering the past, discursive thinking about whatever. When I become aware of that, I come back. Come back, come back. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Countless times. And if we sincerely do that, we're training our being or retraining our being to engage with what it's actually doing at that moment. We're honing our ability to recognize, become aware when we're not just doing what we're doing in that moment, and to come back. And that's where it connects then with the rest of life. You know, that ability to be aware when we're not just doing what we're doing is the same every moment of our life. You know, if I'm chopping vegetables for my evening meal, then when I become aware that I'm not chopping the vegetables, just bring my attention back to chopping the vegetables. If what my body's doing in this moment is dancing with my partner, when I become aware that my body is on autopilot dancing and I'm lost in thinking about who knows what, then bring my attention back. Resume doing what my body's actually doing at that moment. Then we're awake. You know, when we come back and resume doing what our body's actually doing, that is a moment of that. That is a moment of being awake. And when I become aware that I'm not doing what my body's actually doing in this moment, come back again. Come back. Usually, we all get caught up in wanting to give ourselves a grade or a measurement Oh, we were doing sitting meditation together. And in that 25 minutes, I had to bring my awareness back every 4 seconds. My mind was so busy today. Every 4 seconds, I had to catch myself and come back. And we kind of believe, oh, that's worse than if I only had to catch myself and bring it back, twice in that session. And we get caught up very quickly in thinking, oh man, I'm no good at this. This isn't the right thing for me. Look at, this is all about being able to have a clear mind all the time and never get caught up in thinking. And that sure isn't my experience. And so we give up. But if we recognize that, that's just what our brain does, it churns thoughts and feelings, and we easily get caught up in that. And it's all about, when I become aware I'm caught up, come back. And it doesn't matter if I have to come back every nanosecond, or if I only came back 3 times in the last hour. It's all about, when I become aware, do I come back? That's what it is about. And we don't have to get caught up measuring and grading ourselves. It's a matter of just do it over and over and over and over and over again. And I'll virtually guarantee, if we engage sincerely in that, if we do that over and over and over and over again, over time, we will. Our ability to stay with what we're doing, it will increase. Our experience of feeling grounded and centered and more peaceful, that will increase if we sincerely engage in that practice. But it's not a guarantee that every single moment will feel a certain way. And that's where we often get caught. Oh, meditation is supposed to make me feel blissful all the time. I don't feel blissful all the time. I guess I'm doing this wrong. It's the wrong equation, and it sets us up for giving up, and we just have carrying the wrong idea about what meditation is and what it's going to do. Other question?
Hi. So I have had this question rolling around in my head for a few weeks now, and mostly I'm asking this to get it out of my head. And that is that I've been doing this for about 2 years, and all of what you're saying is familiar. So the sitting, the chanting, the bowing, in much of this, we do this in silence, and I'm wondering how the concept of silence factors into this, if it does at all.
Why we do those practices in silence?
Yes, and would meditating with calming piano music in the background be the same or different? Is a guided meditation the same as sitting on a cushion? So it just strikes me that I guess there's a tradition of silence in religions as well, right? And so how does silence come into this practice that we're trying to create?
Yeah. Part of these practices that we engage in, sitting meditation, chanting meditation, bowing meditation, walking meditation. They are deliberately structured in a way to try to simplify our situation. And silence is one way of doing that as well. Our day-to-day life, I'm guessing here from most everyone in this room, most of us lead pretty busy, hectic lives. There's just lots and lots of stimulation happening from all of our sensory stimulation. And all of that gives our thinking mind lots to grab onto and start thinking about and get caught up and lost in. So the practices that spiritual traditions develop are deliberately very simplified situations. When you do sitting meditation, usually it's done in silence. You're sitting still, looking at the floor and breathing, and returning to whatever practice method that you're using. They're so simple. One of our teachers used to say, simple to the point of stupid. But it's deliberately simplified because that probably gives us a better chance of becoming aware when we're not just sitting here looking at the floor breathing, but that's what my body's doing on autopilot, and I'm off, lost in space, thinking about the future, the past, whatever. Because the situation is so simplified, I have probably a better chance of waking up. Whoa, where have I been for the last 15 minutes? I'm off in San Francisco, and we're sitting right here in the Dharma room at Providence Zen Center. And so silence, it can be a great tool as part of that simplicity. But a few folks now have asked, the question of how does this map over to the rest of life? And it's that ability to be able to be aware when we're not just doing what our body's actually doing at that moment, and to resume doing it. We need to develop that ability in every situation. As we leave the quiet meditation hall and go about our daily life, it's not in silence. And so developing, using the skillful means of silence as a way of helping develop that ability, but we need to be able to engage that ability regardless of whether we're in silence or chaos. What time do we need to finish here? Thank you all. I talked too much.
So thanks everybody for coming, and thank you, Elizabeth, for your very moving talk, and thank you, Terry, for answering questions. I just have a few announcements. Our next retreat is going to be a joint retreat with the Full Moon Sangha, which is a Soto Zen Sangha. And for those of you who are new, we are a Korean style, so we kind of have a joint retreat where we share the two traditions. And we already have, I think, over 20 people signed up. So if you would like to join us, definitely come along. I think it's going to be a very good energy. I don't know if I said it's on the 15th. Kilche is taking place at the monastery. For that, you do need previous experience with retreats in our school. It is a 1 week minimum silent retreat, so that can be a little intense. The last 2 weeks of that retreat is when Zen Master Soeng Hyang, Bobby Rhodes, that's Bobby that Elizabeth was talking about, she will lead the retreat at the monastery. So, and she will also be joining us for the Dharma talks. And again, for those of you who are new, this is the book, Composting Our Karma. We have it in our house library if you'd like to check it out, or it's also in the gift shop. Some other programming, every week on Wednesdays, we have a free dinner and then chanting and meditation practice. And this week we will have Kangan interviews with Kwan Hang JDPSN. There's also West Side Zen, which is actually in Providence, or online that you can join on Thursdays. The next precept ceremony will be at Buddha's birthday weekend, which is right after Kilche. It's the first weekend in April. And we'll also have other ceremonies at that point. And then if you've been coming for a while, consider becoming a member of the school. It entitles you to discounts on retreats and some other perks. And today we will have, every week, we're going to have some refreshments. So if you'd like to hang out, and Carol will open the gift shop for half an hour. So if you're looking for something from the gift shop, go straight there, straight back. So again, thank you very much, and we'll see you again next time.
I hope you're honest. That must be very uncomfortable. Yes.
There you go.